Yep.
Okay. I was wondering, the digital comics through services like Comixology are becoming very popular right now, and I was wondering if this has caused any issues as artists, because I've noticed in a lot of 90s comics they have these pages where you have to turn the book over sideways to read them, and on a tablet, those are almost impossible to read because the tablet tries to autocorrect it.
Get out of the way of the speakers before I crack the mic this time. The question was a really good question. Obviously, this day and age, there's a huge trend shifting over to digital artwork. A lot of tablet viewing, a lot of mobile viewing. And of course, he brings up a great point. Around the mid-90s, we had this huge burst of, these huge spreads that went across, 2 pages, sometimes more. I had a couple fold-out comics, I remember. So the question is, as artists, does that affect your creative process, and how do you deal with that, right?
I don't think it really affects me too much. I think it depends on how the app is built or how it's going to display it. But I still go into the picture, drawing it as if it's going to be in a printed book for me.
Yeah, and I've dealt with like that exact thing. Like you'll get criticism, of people talk about you can't read the 2-page spreads, it shrinks them down, blah blah blah, whatever. And I'm like, okay, well I'm making it for print too. Deal with it. I'm also trying to incorporate a little bit more of the sensibilities, especially working past Bonnie Lass and still kind of doing my own thing. I'm actually trying to maybe have a little bit more sensibility about what it would look like on the tablet or computer or whatever you're looking at it. But from the beginning, I'm still pretty much thinking of it as it's going to be a print comic at some point or somehow. So I tend to just go at my page layouts and my design schemes that way. And if I have to retrofit it for digital later, then so be it. But I like 2-page spreads, so. Yeah, what he said. He was right on. I mean, it's just exactly what he said.
Typhoid, Mark. As far as the issue people have with the spreads being cut off or being too small, I just kind of tell them that motion, that gesture works great because you can zoom in and see things. This, when you put it on the tablet, and I love Comixology. I've found so many books that I never would have picked up anywhere else that have been on there. That you can get, they get the free previews. So if that's the biggest issue we have with online viewing and stuff like that, I can go like that and zoom in and move things around.
I don't really see a big problem. I think it's just sort of you create books just to be books, and if they end up digital, then they end up digital. Or if you want to do something specifically digital, then you can sort of change around your layout, your formats and stuff. And this band is awesome, by the way, whoever these guys are. Yeah. And if someone does have a problem, just be like, hey man, shoot me an email. I'll send you a JPEG if it's that big of a deal. It's cool.
All right, great question, especially in the digital age of comics. I'm sure that issue comes up more often than not, so great question. You had a question right beside him?
I was wondering, how do you pull off a simple art style? Pull off a what style? A simple art style.
And you mean like from an initial creative point of view?
Yes.
Like initially? Okay. So the question is, a very broad question, but how do you pull off that first creative element in your career? Like how do you know, how do you know when you've made that first piece of art that you could then commission or, take to someone and perhaps buy?
It's really if you think it looks good enough. If you think it's finished for you, then just show it to somebody else, and then, or someone that you respect or admire, and they can tell you if it's jacked up or anything like that. Just make it and show it to people.
I still can't believe people buy the things I put on that table, so I haven't gotten there yet.
you what, when it happens, when you make that piece, you'll know. My first piece that I actually went, wow, that's what I've always kind of reached for, was a picture of my 3-year-old son as an oil painting. And I mean, I'd spent, gosh, did my whole entire bachelor's 2 years and my master's, and finally it clicked. And at that time, you know, it's like, finally, there's my style. So when it happens, you'll know, and that piece it'll kind of define you. I still have it on my wall, and it's one that I can't get rid of because that was my breakthrough piece to kind of what defined me. Yeah, pretty much what they've already said. I mean, because I mean, you're just, yeah. Well, it's harder for them, you know, if you're starting down here now. But when you talk about getting, you know, just making it to where you yourself enjoy it, where you're getting your own kind of satisfaction out of it, and that's pretty much what you're looking for. You know, if you enjoy it, then it's no guarantee that anybody else is, but you should at least feel confident in putting it out there once you get to a point where you're satisfied with it.
Yeah, you pretty much covered it. If you feel good with it and you show it to somebody you respect and they say, that's really great, I think you really hit the mark, then that piece is done and you're ready to go with it or create another one. I mean, it's hard to say when you know it's ready. It just happens, you know. You look at it and say, okay, I think I've got everything on this piece I need. Now I'm going to show it and then wait for the feedback and then go from there. Know what you need to work on and then refine that and then represent it. But just drawing it, put it on paper. The more you do it, the better you're going to get. You start out somewhere in your career or in your style. You've got to start at the lowest point. It's always your beginning point. You're going to go up from that as long as you keep committing to it. I think Jeff Smith said it, paraphrasing that, you know, you're never going to draw you're going to draw like you, and that's it. You're going to be the artist at your stuff. You always have to start somewhere. And I look at the stuff that I drew 2 years ago. It's horrible. But now looking at the page I've done now, in the past 6 months, I had to switch gears and do a different book. I can't recognize my art a year ago in the pages I'm doing, because it's like the more you do it, you don't even know it, you're just getting better and better and better. And it just takes that practice, and then you'll know it because people want to buy it. There's like, hey, I want to buy that piece from you. You know, I can't believe I'm selling pieces. You know, still.
All right, great question. Did that answer your question? Great. Right here in the front. So the question is, have you guys ever done like a first anniversary edition of a comic that you felt needed to be redone, something that you've done before, wanted to revisit and maybe do better? Is that the question?
That's a hard question. I don't know. I'm cheesy. I was really into X-Force back in the 90s, so I mean, I would like to see them redone, you know, because I don't think they're really good now, but I like the band. I'll just see that redone. I like to see that one.
Yes. I'm gonna stop being that jerk, but I mean, of course, there's always stuff that sounds like good fodder for like revisiting, whatever. My problem is running into that with my own stuff. Just being like, I should redo this because it's better. But I've already put it out there, so I'm kind of satisfied with it. I don't know, I kind of like the X-Force idea, because I was a huge X-Force fan, but yeah, it's just kind of what it is. So it has great potential. And then there was a lot of the, gosh, I don't remember the names of it. Wildcats. Hey, you know, Wildcats. I liked Wildcats, but it just kind of, I don't even know if it's still out. Is it still out? So I'd love to see it, you know, get a, because I love DC's restart, but you know that was amazing. It just put a whole new batch of energy back into it. So I would love to see that with some, you know, lesser known titles.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Slingers. I don't know if you remember that book from the early 2000s. It's just like different Spider-Man personas. I love that book, man. It's got a soft spot for me. They would never do it, but I love those characters. And also, I'm a huge Stingray fan. I love Stingray from Marvel. They'll never do a Stingray book, but I have the pitch ready if they ever come calling.
That's good to know, definitely. Great question. Right here.
Well, on that note, what type of things would you like to maybe, like as far as goals, like you maybe would want to work on?
So the question was basically in your careers, if there was a book that you could maybe redo from your childhood or for whatever reason during your career, what book would that be, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a book, painting, movie, cartoon, whatever.
I would like to do a comic book version of the Monster Squad. I love that movie, and I would do that comic in a second. But also, I would really love to make a living on my own stuff, if they asked. But yeah, if I had to do somebody else's stuff, comic book version of Monster Squad all day long.
It's not a book I'd like to do, but in 5-6 years, I'd like to be Laura Martin and be happy with that. If you don't know who Laura Martin is, she's a colorist for Marvel, and any big thing that they've done, with the exception of Civil War, she's the colorist on it, and she's phenomenal.
I would love to do a comic that was just phenomenal off of the Dragonlance series, Murder Rice and Tracy Hickman. They were the first fiction that I remember reading as a kid, and I know they've done comics and they've been pretty cool, but I would so be honored to do that. In my personal life, I'm developing a story developed from events that happened to my life, and I'm hopefully going to have a graphic novel eventually out from that. So it involves a coma, which I was in. Okay, I got a couple that they're either going to sound really cheesy or too obscure. Maybe neither. Bucky O'Hare. So, there's the comics from the 70s and 80s, and then there's the show, which I grew up on in the 90s, but it only had like 13 episodes, and I was like, this is an awesome premise. Why did it not go any further? I'll pick it up. Larry Hama, you don't want to draw it anymore? I'll draw it, whatever. Or SWAT Cats.
I would like to see a Goonies 2.
It's a great answer, definitely. I'm still waiting on that third Ghostbusters, as we all know. So let's go over here to the clown back here. What we got?
What if you have a story that you wrote and would make an amazing graphic novel? How do you pitch that to artists?
Okay, so the question is, if you have a story personally that you've written, correct, and you think it's ready for maybe a novel or even a series, where do you go from there? Like, where's the best place to go to find the art for that, and then so on and so forth to get it to the rack? Correct? Is that about right?
Well, Ed, today in this age, it's hitting the forums, hitting the major art forums like CBR, Pencil Jack, and putting your pitch out there. Be ready to pay if you can, because there's a lot of people throwing stories out that love their stories and it's their stories and they're into it. But for the artist, it's like they want to draw it, but it's about getting paid for them, I think, for the most part. So if you're ready to be a professional pitch to them and expect to pay a little money for it, hit the forums. Everywhere you go digitally, because that's the easiest way to do it nowadays, Facebook and Twitter and getting all your friends on it. So once it's developed, throw a pitch, bring it together, and start posting online for artists.
Yeah, definitely do the social networking, and that includes, just being here at a convention, taking your ideas around, maybe not doing like a full pitch, walking up to somebody's table, trying to, make their living for the Saturday or whatever, and you spill your whole story pitch to them, but, just get a conversation going, get them talking about the idea, and then, get on top of that, be willing to put down some money for it. You gotta you're attached to the idea, and like you were saying, like the artist may want to work on it, because of getting paid, making their living, but they may want to work on it just beyond that as well. But you've got to show them why. You've got to show them why it's something that they should take the risk on. Because even if if you're not a publisher talking to an artist, not offering like a full-on competitive page rate, then you got to kind of work with what you got. And what you've got is just your story, and so if you're willing to take a risk on it, then that's showing the artist that there's a little bit of kind of reward in the end for them as well. Just even if it just means being part of the creative process, like behind some of the story as well, just getting a little more extra input than maybe an artist would, getting some of that. Getting some of the ownership over the property as well, stuff like that. I don't know. I could talk on and on for that, but I'll let somebody else do it before I sound like an idiot.
Yeah, definitely make contacts anywhere and everywhere you can. I think the first time I encountered Michael was at SpassaCon, and it's instant. Go to Facebook, find him, because his stuff rocks. And you just don't be afraid of the big names. Just because you'll find out that they are really cool guys, and they have tons of things. But if you approach me with a story, and I love the story, I'm instantly going to be drawn into it. If you can pay, that's awesome. But I'm a true believer in the barter system. So if you have a surfboard out there and you have a really cool story, I need a surfboard. So just saying. So that's it works all kinds.
If you go to the forums, like he was saying, there's always an artist showcase section. Find somebody whose art you like that they're putting up on their pages. PM them, send them a private message, ask them what their page rates are, and then find out what that is. And if you can afford it, then save up, or if you have the money, then start the process. Because someone might say, "Yeah, I'll do it for free because I really like the story," but as soon as paying work comes along, they're going to drop you because it's paying work. And unfortunately, that's just the nature of the business and the nature of life. A good one, Pencil Jack, digital webbing is a good one. Good digital webbing / talent. DeviantArt has some, and if you go to DeviantArt and go through those, send notes to those people, they'll do it. Comic book resources, I think even Bleeding Cool has a section on it. Just places you go, Newsarama will have a section like that. Just go to those big sites like that and find it. They're there.
Yeah, it's pretty much what they said. What I would suggest is, find an art style that fits for your story, and then find an artist, and then save up and get 5. If you can save up to pay for at least 5 finished pages that you can then show around, post on your site, post on other sites. To get interest and stuff like that. So yeah, it's all about finding someone that you can work with, and that you can also kick them a few shekels to help out.
All right, we're just about out of time here, guys. We're going to have time for one more question. I'm sure these guys wouldn't mind an extra commission if you guys have something you wanted to pitch them. So definitely be a good time to start right here at the Tricon. So let's take one more question back here in the back.
Any of you guys get intimidated by big team books like Legion of Superheroes, Avengers? Does that intimidate you, drawing a huge cast or coloring a huge cast?
So the question is, do big team-up books intimidate you? And the examples he threw out was Avengers and Legion and probably Justice League and all that good stuff. And what color schemes do you use when you have to draw big character groups like that?
No, intimidation doesn't really factor in, as long as you have the colors that you need for each character, and as long as you have the time, and of course, if you get paid, that helps out a lot. I'll color Legion of Superheroes at infinity, as long as the paycheck clears. But yeah, as long as you're given all the tools that you need to get it done, then yeah, just keep going.
I'm not intimidated as far as looking at the page, but when I get the page and it's time to color it, and there are 20 characters on there, each with their own color schemes and everything else, I just go, that's going to be a long time to do. And that's the issue. It's just the time. And, you know, a lot of times you get a page, you can get a page in it. We're like, oh, by the way, here's the whole book as a colorist. 4 days? Can you do 4 days? I know we gave the penciler a month and a half, and the inker got a month and a half, but we need 4 days from you. So that's when it gets intimidating.
I love a good challenge. You know, the more the merrier. But as when if it comes to the color, I need that in 3 days.
I guess I can't really speak from exact experience, but just in general, yeah. Like I'll take it on. Sometimes I'll take it on stupidly, not realizing that I don't actually have the time for it. But I get it done somehow. So it's a challenge.
I think you hit it. It's time management based on what you can do and how fast they need it. It's overwhelming for me because I need like this picture paint or colored in like 3 hours. I'm like, okay. You like abstract art? Because I can color that thing all day.
All right, great questions, everybody, all around. We're going to go down the road real quickly, very briefly, guys. Just tell us what you got on the horizon, what you got coming up, and what they can look forward to in the future.
I've got the Mayne and the Kitty Coat coming out in 2014 with Broken Icon. Possibly a wrestling book coming out for WWE. I can't say much about other than that, but that's all I got right now.
I'm working on second volume of Bonnie Lass, so hopefully that'll be out later this year. I'm going to be working with Charles Soule. We're working together on a pitch project that could very well be like Goonies 2. He wants to model it after the old 80s Amblin movies. And then beyond that, I'm going to be doing some Atomic Robo Real Science Adventures later in the year.
I'm actually working on a comic with the guys from Broken Icon Comics. It's a secret. Don't tell them I say that. But it's pretty cool. The storyline's amazing. And then as personal projects, I'm working on finishing the storyline, my own personal storyline, so I can start a graphic novel about that. On the illustration front, I'm just crazy ideas that my kid gives me. I kick them out, like Deadpool, Darth Maul. Yeah, that rocked. That was a cool idea, man. That's right there, the little man. That's the brains behind the operation. I'm just the talent. So I'm just kicking out illustrations, just whatever comes out, man. So.
I'm currently working on a book called The Conjurer. It's my own creation. It's kind of it's high fantasy wizardry meets Quantum Leap, and I'm working on page 3 of it right now. I'm taking forever to do it because I'm doing everything. I've wrote it, and drawing it, inking it, and coloring, lettering it. And you can find it at theconjurercomic.com. Check me out. Let me know what you think.
I have a book coming out next year called Odin Jones from Action Lab Entertainment. I'm also working with an artist named Jim Mahfood on his cartoon for Liquid Television called Carl the Cat That Makes Peanut Butter Sandwiches, and his other cartoon Disco Destroyer. I'm working on those, and I'll have a new mini comic debuting at Cincinnati Expo later on in the year, and I host a weekly podcast called Boku Pop. Check that out. And I'm at table 31.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. Kevin, Mark, Jason, James, Michael, thank them. Guys, very great panel. One of the most educational panels I've ever been on, definitely.